Free-to-play games are
a menace.
the future. All the same. An oversaturated market. They're an innovative business model that's taking us forward, constantly annoying me on Facebook with their frequent updates.
I think free-to-play and
unsustainable, a bad idea, not the future, not the way forward. I guess they can be pretty good if they're done right, but
I don't really care about it. Great free-to-play games, anything, but I mean, it's gonna be free. It's gonna be so much easier.
You have run out of cards, 17 hours of your heart.
I mean, I get it.
Man, that's the enemy dead is down.
Oh, Mom, I need your credit card. All of a sudden, life's gonna
If I get one more Candy Crush invite, I am going to unfriend you from the entire internet. Like it or not, free-to-play games are very, very big. The free-to-play business model has made massive success both in mobile games, on cellular phones and tablets, as well as on other platforms such as social networks, that is, Facebook. Most of the free-to-play games on these platforms that people may think of are the more casual games, such as Candy Crush Saga and Farmville. These games are generally simple, easy to learn, and easy to get into. As a result, they have a wide audience and appeal to a lot of people. However, these aren't the only games that are free-to-play. If you look at Steam right now, Valve's PC gaming service, you'll notice that out of their top 5 games by player count, 2 of these games are free-to-play. That's 40%. It might not seem like a big deal, however, if you were to combine the player counts of the top 2 free-to-play games on Steam and compare them against the top 10 paid games on Steam, you'd realize that the player counts for the top 2 games outweigh player counts for the top 10 paid games. This might just seem like an interesting factoid until you realize that free-to-play games are quite profitable. These top 2 free-to-play games on Steam, that are Defense of the Ancients 2 and Team Fortress 2, make their money by in-game microtransactions. In case this isn't a system you're familiar with, in short, the way it works is that players are able to purchase items for the game within the game itself. If you're playing Dota 2 and you happen to like Broodmother, one of the characters in the game, it's possible to buy items that modify your appearance when you're playing as Broodmother. These items don't affect the game in any way. They just change the way that a player looks. It might not seem like a big deal, however, there is big money in making items for these free-to-play games. While most casual Dota players don't care to play dress-up with their characters, often more dedicated players, people who play frequently, will happily spend a buck or two in order to not only support the game, but change the way that they look. It's this business model that has helped make Dota 2 tremendously profitable for Valve. Instead of having to sell the game once, and continue to support the servers throughout all of its days without any further opportunities for money, Valve has instead created a little economy, where players create and sell these items. Hence, Valve doesn't have to worry about putting out a Dota free once Dota 2 stops making sales. They also don't have to rely on a subscription-based model, which, while potentially profitable, only works if you have a large number of very dedicated players. In addition, as proved by the Elder Scrolls Online dropping its subscription model a few months ago, the subscription model isn't very popular nowadays. Besides creating a barrier to entry for players who are not completely sold on the concept of the game and would like to try it out, a game needs to sell a large number of subscriptions every month in order to stay afloat. While selling cosmetic in-game items is one way that free-to-play games go about making money, there are some other methods. However, some of these methods aren't really appreciated by players, and when I say appreciated, I mean players hate these things. Here are the 5 commandments of free-to-play games. If you're a developer, please take note. These commandments will help you to keep a hold on your install base. If you play free-to-play games, you'll also want to take a look at this and consider, are the free-to-play games that I play actually enjoyable, or are they little more than glorified Skinner boxes that encourage me to pop out my wallet in order to push the lever again? Without further ado, the first command is,
Thou shalt not limit playtime.
Perhaps the most common sin of free-to-play games is that they have a bad tendency to limit playtime. This is especially the case for mobile games. Every time you start a new game, it costs you energy, a heart, or some other arbitrary limiter. Once you've run out of energy, hearts, or whatever else it is that the game has decided to limit for you, you're presented with the choice to either stop playing until your energy has been restored, or to make an additional purchase of imaginary energy and hearts with real-world money. Sometimes you're offered another way to restore your hearts or energy, and that is by telling your friends to come along and play the game. This constitutes a sin of free-to-play gaming. Reason being that the game solely exists to make money. Now that might sound a little bit absurd. Don't most commercial games exist to make money? Well, of course they do. However, with this business model, the gameplay is built around making money instead of being good gameplay. It might have taken gameplay elements from other games that you know for a fact are good. For example, Candy Crush and Pokemon Shuffle take gameplay elements from Jewel and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Pokemon Shuffle is an especially egregious example, because unlike Candy Crush, where you only lose hearts if you lose the game, in Pokemon Shuffle, you are losing hearts every time you begin to play a new round. While the game sometimes drops crystals at random that you can use to restore your hearts, it's random. There's nothing you can do using in-game currency to actually really work for them. This isn't to say that any free-to-play game that makes you wait is bad. For example, in the super creative browser game Extrasolar, you control a rover on Mars. In Extrasolar, you take an action and let your rover roll on. You have to wait for your rover to reach its destination in order to discover things. There's no way to speed up the game or make your rover drive faster. You just have to wait, and it's part of the game. In short, limiting playtime in order to make more money is a bad idea. That said, if the wait in a game really is a key mechanic, and it's handled as well as it is in Extrasolar, then it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Thou shalt not advertise obnoxiously.
The next commandment of free-to-play games, thou shalt not advertise obnoxiously, doesn't mean thou shalt not advertise in your game at all. If you've ever played Words with Friends, then you'll know that advertisements are one of the ways that game supports itself. While the ads can be somewhat irritating in how frequently they come up, they don't interrupt the gameplay. Unfortunately, games that support themselves with unobtrusive advertising seem to be more the exception than the rule. I've seen free-to-play games in which advertisements actually obscure the game itself. Even if the game has a cool concept, if I'm not able to play it, well, what's the point? Also irritating are games that have extremely frequent advertisements. If you are advertising a product and it comes up every 5 seconds when I'm playing a free-to-play game, not only am I going to eventually uninstall that game, but I'm also going to be turned off of your products.
Thou shalt not nag players back.
Over the years of my having owned an Android device, I've installed and uninstalled many games and applications. There is one thing that a developer of any game can do that would earn an instant uninstall. Push a notification to my phone without my permission. Like the first commandment, there's a line to cross. I don't mind it when Words with Friends tells me that it's my move against Grandma. I do not, however, like it when a game is trying to tell me that there's a 50% bonus off on hearts now, buy now, best value. That is irritating. It's intrusive, and it's unwelcome. If I care enough about a game to purchase hearts, I might not mind knowing when they're on sale, but I'd still want to have to opt in to notifications about sales. I don't want to have to opt out. If I have to opt out of notifications that either nag me back to your game, or notifications of in-game items going on sale, I'm probably just going to opt out altogether and uninstall your application.
Thou shalt honor thy refusals.
If a free-to-play game asks me to purchase something, I don't mind. The game has to make money somehow, and if the request is reasonable, I might not mind obliging. At the very least, I'm willing to listen to what a game wants to sell me and make my own decision as to if I want to buy. That said, if I say no, that's it. No does not mean bother me about this later on in the day via a push notification, and no does not mean ask me again in 5 minutes. No, quite simply, means no. That's not to say that no means never. However, I would really prefer if a game were to respect choices that I make. If I feel that a game doesn't respect when I say no, I'm not going to want to hang on to that game for very long. If you're a developer making a free-to-play game, you should seriously consider having the option for players to say, no, don't bother me again about purchasing this thing. It may seem like a small thing, but in the long run, it's really a big step towards making me, as a consumer, feel respected.
Thou shalt honor thy parents and their children.
The last command of making a free-to-play game is, thou shalt honor thy parents and their children. And this is an important commandment for multiple reasons. To start with, children don't, or at least shouldn't, have jobs. Hence, they won't have money, and so free-to-play games are going to be very attractive to them. To be frank, if you're making a free-to-play game for kids, your focus should first be on gameplay, then monetization. Of course, this is true if you're developing any sort of free-to-play game. However, especially when you're making a game for kids, if you create a game that's designed to exploit them, you're not a developer, you're a villain. I confess, I haven't played Neopets in a very long time, but at the time that I played it, it was a good example of how to monetize a game for kids without being exploitative. Neopets was very fun to play, and while it was obviously supported by advertisements, those ads never actually got in the way of gameplay. On the bad side of the spectrum of making free-to-play games for kids, you might have heard of Smurf's Village. Smurf's Village gained a name for itself when a little girl playing the game spent over $1,400 in her mother's money in Smurf berries. She wasn't completely aware of what she was doing at the time, and for her mother, fortunately, they were able to get a refund. However, this was a powerful and potentially expensive lesson. It was this incident that did some pretty terrible damage to the Smurfs as an intellectual property. More damage, in fact, than the awful Smurfs movies that came out a few years back. That said, there was a silver lining to that incident. Several developers have since put in safeguards to prevent that sort of thing from happening, which is great. Unfortunately, there are still some unscrupulous developers who are making games that take advantage of kids. If you're a developer and you're considering making free-to-play games for kids, you have three feasible options. The first is to try and monetize your game by using advertisements. So long as you don't violate the second commandment, this is a possible route. Your other choice is to make a free game that's truly and totally free. Your final option is to innovate. You're going to want to figure out a creative way to monetize a product for very young, very unemployed people. I can't tell you how to do this, only that it's necessary that you somehow find a method of doing it. If you are not the developer and marketer to figure it out first, somebody else will be. If you're a parent, I not only recommend that you monitor the games that your kids are playing, but also try them out for yourself. Do you feel that the games are Skinnerbox Jr.? Do the games seem to exist solely for the purpose of convincing your kid to refill energy bars with your credit card? It might be a good idea to go through the app marketplace with your kid and pick out a few good paid games. There are plenty of really great games that only cost $1. For less than the cost of your favorite hard-to-pronounce beverage at your favorite coffee shop, you can buy hours of fun for your kids at the app marketplace. Believe me, it's a lot better to buy a game for your kid once and be done with it than to have your kid constantly begging you to drop your credit card and refill an energy bar for money.
That's great. You have to earn it.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Call our toll-free number for a free idea kit. Endless pools are simple to install, easy to maintain, and economical to run. Swim or exercise against a smooth current that adjusts to any speed or ability. Perfect for year-round health, fitness, and relaxation. Call our toll-free number or visit our website for your free Endless Pools idea kit.
These 5 commands mostly apply to issues that I've seen pop up on free-to-play games on mobile platforms. However, I feel that they're especially important to bring up now because many mobile games that saw success on cell phones and tablets are coming over to PC. With the games come the business models, and with the business models, well, come a mix of things. In addition, developers on consoles and on PCs are beginning to accept these free-to-play business models. By considering these commandments, I feel that developers are going to not only foster trust between themselves and their audience, but also help guarantee themselves a good permanent place in the hearts and on the hard drives of the folks who play their games. I'd like to ask, what do you guys think about these 5 commandments of free-to-play games? Do you think I'm wrong about anything, or are there any commandments that you'd like to see added? Shoot us a tweet at Blackman and Robin, and we'll be sure to feature our favorite tweets on our weekly game news updates. A bit of recognition isn't quite enough for you? Well, we'll also be giving to our favorite tweets a free key for Distant Star Revenant Fleets. So get tweeting and be sure to follow us. You can also follow me at Jordan_Cameron on Twitter.